Poppy and Sam are like, just the drawings are so nostalgic.
Yeah.
And I also think I grew up drawing dogs that look exactly like Rusty. I was
Oh,
looking at them and I think like I must have obviously just copied, and the same with the cows, like the big round noses. I must have just copied these drawings to learn how to draw.
hi everyone, it's Lucy from Team Tandem here. I'm joined by Elle and Steffi, who are some of our other Team Tandem parents. We are here today to have a chat about the wonderful Poppy and Sam collection. So we recently partnered with Usborne to run a parent-child read-along for the latest book in the series, Poppy and Sam's Farm Animal Sounds. We had such a lovely response from the readers, both big and little, who participated in that. And given that this series has been out for, I only realised yesterday, almost 40 years. Next year is the 40th anniversary of when the very first edition of Poppy and Sam was first published. We really wanted to get together and have a bit of a chat about the series, why we think it still resonates with, you know, both parents and their little ones after so long, and from our individual experiences as some of the parents on the team, what we enjoy about it with our little ones. So Elle and Steffi, I think we've all brought a different book from the Poppy and Sam series with us today. So I have got Poppy and Sam's Noisy Tractor. Steffi, what have you got with you?
I have got Poppy and Sam's Animal Hide and Seek, which is actually mainly intact. This is one of my daughter's favourite books. I've got one flap that has been reattached. That's how actually no, yeah, we are missing one.
I love it. The book reconstructive surgery that needs to happen with toddlers is also,
yeah,
I think, maybe worth pointing out, we have all got 3-year-olds, haven't we? They're all three. Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of, yeah, similar reading
Keep
age.
destroying age.
Destroying age. Elle, which one have you got with you?
I have a very battered copy of Poppy and Sam's Bedtime Stories. So again, this is like one of her all-time favorite books, and it's a collection of almost like I call them like big kid books because they're like proper stories, and she's at the point where she has like memorized her favorite ones. Obviously, she's not a wonder child; she cannot read, but she like Kitten's Day Out. That girl knows back to back. But yeah, on the book surgery, this is very pages torn. It's like the cover's falling off. But yeah, so this is one of her favorites.
Yeah. And I think like one of the things, so I have got, Poppy and Sam's Noisy Tractor. I don't know if you've both heard, I actually just accidentally set off the tractor sound. But the read along that we've just done is for Poppy and Sam's Farm Animal Sounds. And I think the books are so interactive now. So obviously there is the buttons and the sound feature in them that weren't available in some of the original editions, you know, that came out like back in the 80s. And I just think they are such a lovely collection for helping not just developing like reading skills and, you know, when reading with your children, but kind of evoking the other senses as well. So like sound, sight, you know, everything that can really capture their attention. I can't talk about Poppy and Sam without, of course, referencing the duck, which I think like there was lots of comments in the one-line reviews from the parents on the read along that, of course, you're not just reading the story, but keeping an eye out for the duck is like I'm not being funny. I look forward to that as part of our reading bedtime routine so much when we're looking at a Poppy and Sam book, and I think like that's kind of what they're instantly recognizable for as well. Like it's such a crucial part of that series. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, it's so nostalgic because I remember when so I read to her since she was tiny. I think just because also it was just something that I like doing was reading. So I used to read her like my books. I would just constantly be just reading to her. But this was one of the first, if not, yeah, literally, I think one of the first few books that we got her. And I'd forgotten about the little yellow duck, and I'd forgotten that I'd had these books, and like I bought it, and we probably have like an original copy in the house from. So I'm 35, so yeah, probably like from the 80s.
Wow.
And I was reading it to her, and she was like a couple of months old, so she's just like a wee slug, obviously not really, like she probably couldn't even see it, but I was like, the duck, like, can you see the duck? She's she's like, no. But it's so nostalgic.
Yeah.
And actually, like, it's not immediately obvious either. Like, I know that sounds like it's not obviously too hard to find it.
Some of those have to work.
Yeah, it's not oversimplified, because I think a lot of children's books can be, like, obviously they're meant to be simple, but especially for this age where you really want them to start to like engage of their own accord with each page and like spend their time, so you're not like, you know, reading a bedtime story in 10 seconds and it's done. You want them to like be in control of interacting with each page.
Yeah,
They're so good for that. Like you said, like the flaps and the sounds and the textures, and like my wee girl loves this one. It's got, and again the flaps falling off, but like wee spiky thistles.
yes.
And we were talking about like sensory input just before we started recording this chat. We're having a mum chat and about, you know, sensory things, and she loves like just rubbing that before bed. She just loves, a little change of texture. They love that, really grabby hands.
Yeah, I love how they do themed editions as well. So we have got the Poppy and Sam Halloween party, and like my little boy, his birthday is early November, so I think he really likes Halloween because he knows that that's near to his birthday. And then there's a soundtrack of Halloween songs that he's asking me to play at the moment in like June and July. I'm like, okay, I'll just go with
We're
it.
getting quite Halloween.
But yeah, he because they can't find Rusty the dog at the Halloween party, and he's like hiding in loads of different places. So I think as well, the guessing element for like Rusty, as well as the like where's the duck, he loves that as well. But you're right, I'm glad someone else thinks it's not oversimplified.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like in this, because this like book that we read the most, it is just more traditional, like pictures and again another rip page and text. And I'm telling you, some of these books are really hard to find because they still have like a duck on every page. And like I will sometimes, especially when it's like the bedtime routine, I will be like, is there definitely a duck here? There always is, but no, it's definitely like it's like 8 o'clock at night. But yeah, I think what I really love about it is kind of touching on what Steffi just said, is that you can read these books to them when they are just like tiny, cute little slugs. Love that phrase. But now this, like, she's still reading the same books now as she's turning 3, and it's just so amazing to kind of see the transition in how they engage with it. So what they found fascinating about the books that are more like interactive and versatile when they were tinier, when they were 1, compared to how they react to the books now and what they seek comfort from, and how they start to like memorize their favorite sections. It's just I just love that it's so versatile. It really does just go from, I feel like, birth to I don't know how long we'll be reading these stories, but
no, it's a really versatile series. And I think on the read along, I mean, I know that the kind of suitable age range when you're purchasing them from, you know, either online or bookshops is, I think, like 2 to 5, but and I know we had a range of children's ages on the read along. But yeah, I mean, say I started reading to my son when he was very young, literally kind of a couple of months old, and you know, it did spark some not negative reactions, but some of my friends who also had kids were like, oh, you're reading to him quite young. And I was like, like I know he can't understand it yet. I think if you're a reader yourself, like you were saying, Steffi, it's it just becomes such a part of their routine from a young age. Yes, when it sounds like you both started reading to yours when they were very, very small as well.
I just, I don't know. I think maybe it is just because when you love reading, it's something I feel like you can't wait to share with your children.
Yeah.
But I remember when I went and had like my 20-week scan when I was pregnant, I just remember the first thing I wanted to do was go to the bookshop, and I like bought her some books. And just now, like, still reading those books that I bought her when obviously she was just a little peanut, it's just, I think it's sentimental, isn't it? It's the sentimental value of it. And I just feel like they're such a cornerstone of our day, and great for like calming, I think. Obviously with us all having 3-year-olds, we kind of know that it's a very turbulent time for them. They have so many emotions, and it's just hard. It's hard, obviously, for them being little humans trying to work out how to feel their emotions and process that, but also hard for us as parents, especially if we're not having a great day ourselves. And I just find that for the both of us, being able to sit down with a book that I know she loves, and I start to enjoy a lot of them as well, especially now now she's getting older. Like, it's just such a calming moment. It just allows for like kind of that, it's like that bonding, but that calming ritual of reading a book together, so we can go from like a full-on like emotional outburst to just like, yeah, the cuddles and the enthusiasm and the calmness again, just through the power of reading a book. And yeah, I don't know what we'd do without them, to be honest. Because when she's just like, let's read books together, let's sit on the sofa where it's comfy and read books together, I'm like, absolutely good, yes.
Like the only time my child is still is when she sat reading a book. And the only time I cuddle these days as well, because she's, I don't know, when they're little and you can just have them on you and you read a story, but now they're just on the go. Well, I don't know about yours, but she's literally just in constant motion.
Yeah.
When she's reading a book, she'll like sit and we could read for like an hour and she's just sit still. It's so nice.
Yeah. I know. Like that. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, like about it feeling a cornerstone of the day. Like I feel whenever we are doing bedtime, like it doesn't matter what else has gone on in my day or what else I think is still on my to-do list to like catch up on that evening. Like I feel that I'm really like present when we're like, it's literally like probably my favorite time of the day, not just because he's about to go to bed. Like,
although that is also if we're being honest,
like it does feel like a really calm, lovely point in the day. But it is, it's I think it's so important. And I think obviously like if you enjoy reading yourself anyway, like you were saying, Ella, is something that you kind of can't wait to experience and like incorporate into routine with your child.
Buying books that I had as well, like not just Poppy and Sam books, but there's so many books that I've either dug out of like my parents' attic or gone and found on Amazon or eBay that are like ancient copies of books that I remember and desperately hoping that she loves them too. And she does tend to. But that's so nice. You think, God, I can't wait to read that book again, even if it is only 6 pages long. I can't wait to see the drawings and remember how I felt seeing them. And Poppy and Sam are like, just the drawings are so nostalgic.
Yeah.
And I also think I grew up drawing dogs that look exactly like Rusty. I was looking at them and I think like I must have obviously just copied, and the same with the cows, like the big round noses. I must have just copied these drawings to learn how to draw animals, which is so funny now.
It's so, and a lot of people on the read along were saying that as well, that it was a very interactive read along. So obviously it's Poppy and Sam's farm animal sounds, so we were encouraging people to actually take the book out and about with them, to try and visit a local farm and to try and identify some of the farm animals like with their children, which everybody really enjoyed, and there was like some really lovely content generated from that. But a lot of feedback from people saying that it was just such a nostalgic campaign for them to be involved with. Like it really kind of took, I guess as well, that is also showing like our collective age, because when I was like Poppy and Sam 14 years old, and I was like, actually that kind of makes sense. But so people saying that it was a really lovely nostalgic experience for them to read them as well, or like you were saying, Steffi, the illustrations do take you right back just when you look at them.
Yeah, I think one thing that they do really well as well, that we had a bit of feedback on, like positive feedback, was the language is not, like we mentioned at the start, even with the illustrations, they're simple and clear, but they're not oversimplified, so they do grow with the child. So you could start reading this book and just look at the pictures and make the sounds or listen to the sounds, name the animals, and then you can move on to the words and using those words. But in Poppy and Sam's Farm Animal Sounds, where it allows the child to use the context of words they know to introduce a new word. So like the word meadow, the sheep are in the meadow, whereas in this book it says in the field. Like they know the sheep are in the meadow, so even if they don't know what meadow means. It's got the context, just like how we build up our language. If I say I've got a dingle hopper on my head, you don't know what like the dingle hopper is, but you know it's whatever I'm holding, and they can look at the picture back and say, oh, meadow, and it's an opportunity to discuss, oh, so a meadow is a field, and are they the same thing, and what other, it's grass, what other words do we know, what are they doing in the meadow? There's so much. And when my daughter at this age is this constantly in the like, why?
Yes, oh my god, the why.
What's that? And then she'll and I know she'll go out now and be like, is that a meadow or a field? Yeah. And I'll be like, I don't 100% know.
I get the correcting as well. So if I accidentally, or if you're reading it and it's like kind of dim light, I think recently I said the incorrect word, and my son was like, no, it's not that, like pulled me up on it straight away, and I was like, oh, sorry. So sorry.
So I love being corrected, but yeah, I definitely agree with the language. It's so funny because so like with this one, Olive will kind of like has just memorized by what the pictures are, what the words are, even though she can't read the words. But like when she first did it, like she likes to take the book away from me now, so you'll only get a few pages in and she's like, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna do this. So you have to just sit there and like I have to sit there and stroke her hair and just let her read it to me, but she'll like tell me what the text says. So there's in Kitten's Day Out, her favorite story at the beginning, they're looking for, like, the kitten's gone missing, so they're trying to track down Mr. Bran, who has delivered the horse feed to see if the kitten's gone with Mr. Bran. So she's obsessed with finding Mr. Bran's truck, but there's a scene where the car goes into a puddle and it splutters and stops. So she's like looking at pictures and she's saying the car splashed into the puddle, it spluttered and stopped. And I'm like, you have no idea what the word spluttered means, but just the fact that just the pictures and the reading and the repetition, they just pick up these like amazing phrases, and then she'll just now mention it in casual conversation. And it's almost nice how that's developed. It's literally just developed through repetitive reading. If
you tried to teach her what the word spluttered means, if you just sat her down and said, I'm going to teach you some words.
Exactly that.
Just would be like, no, we wouldn't do that.
No, exactly that. But they look at that picture of the car in the puddle with the cute characters, and she's like, yeah, I know what's happening there. I love it.
Yeah, I think as well, like we were saying, so ours are all 3, but what I'm noticing, the more that we will kind of spend time with other parents with children who are of a similar age to Liam, that like some other children seem to have like a much longer attention span, and I think like with a book like Poppy and Sam, there's so much to kind of hold their attention. So like you were saying, it's not just the narrative or the story of what's happening, but there's so like many different like background images or things that you might not notice straight away, and I love how like Liam is getting really into those, so he might not be kind of fully concentrating on what I'm saying if I'm reading it to him, but he's kind of pointing out what else there is in the background. So I think it really lends itself nicely to kind of like a varying spectrum of attention spans for children of different ages. And it's one of the few series actually that I think does that really well.
And you could read it in totally different contexts. Like, so one day you can we're just going to count the animals. Like if they're just in a counting mood, they want to count the animals. But I don't know, like my daughter, the next day she doesn't want to count anything, and she'll be like appalled at the suggestion that she wants to do it, but she'll just want to like hear the sounds or turn the pages, or there's so many different ways that you can interact with it, and the child can lead with that, or she'll want to like read every word and like have me point out which letter is which and like pore over it. And other days it's literally just want to press the same button like 15 times. It's fine.
We're just sticking with the sounds today, let's go with it.
I love that little. Like I'll be like, oh, Olive, how many cows there are on this page? Do you know how many cows there are? And she's like, no. Okay.
And I'm not going to find out.
She's like, no, don't really care, to be honest. Even though I fully know how many cows are on this page, that's fine. We'll just keep on.
Not feeling it today, Mum.
I think it's
something one day, the next day they're like.
It's the imagination, isn't it? It's just allowing them to. I feel like when you think of reading to young children, you sat down and you're just reading the words of the book and you're flipping the pages. But I think having that journey of realizing that a book can be so many different things and you can read it in so many different ways. And I do think that's what Poppy and Sam is great for. And yeah, but now they are at the stage where they want to take the lead more, and where she takes the book from me. If she doesn't know the book and she doesn't know the words, then she'll just tell a completely different story. She'll just look at the pictures and she'll tell me a story, and it'll be the funniest nonsense. But yeah, it's just amazing to see how their brains work. And I love the Poppy and Sam books for that, because like, if we talk back to the illustrations as well, they're just fantastic. There's always so much there for them to describe and to make their own words up for. And I love that. I feel like I'd like a Poppy and Sam redo with Olive's version of what actually happens.
Write down her little edits.
Yeah, literally there'll be lots of ghosts and dragons and things, but it's just yeah.
The things that they retain as well, like you know, like I said, my son is a big fan of the Halloween, Poppy and Sam's Halloween party. And even like, so we had that, I think, Halloween last year when he was 2. And then, you know, when we were seeing things in shops, you know, like Halloween costumes and things, he, like, Poppy and Sam was his like point of reference. He was like, oh, like in Poppy and Sam. Like, so yeah, it's that he'd obviously really, maybe he thinks that Halloween is just a concept because of the Poppy and Sam books.
Yeah. How small their worlds are, and then that also kind of emphasizes the importance of like what we put in front of them in terms of reading, and like the books that we give them, that becomes their universe.
Yeah,
I was talking to my partner about that. Like, our daughter has no idea that there is a world beyond like our little village, the places that we've driven to.
yeah.
She's so content with that. Like, she's so content with just like these fantastical worlds and these books and the things that she watches and the games that she plays and her imagination. And you think, oh, you're truly fueling her concept of what exists every time you open a book with them.
Yeah, which feels like, I mean, it's not lost on me at all, but it's a massive responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so I feel that a lot sometimes, but yeah, it is just expanding their horizons. I just absolutely love it. But like, yeah, it's wild hearing you describe it like that their world is quite small and that's how they relate to things. But yeah, I remember pulling outside our house on the way back from nursery the other day, and she's like, oh, back to our big house. We've got a big house. And I'm thinking, we live in a 3-bed terrace, hon. Like, we do not have a big house. But like, the way she perceives things, it's so funny.
Best.
No, they're so funny at this age. Okay, so I know that we've talked about a lot of what we really love about the series, and some of the feedback from the read along, but if you both had to, I realize this might be quite difficult to sum up, but what do you think it is about this series that has made it stand the test of time?
I think for me it would be like the balance of like familiarity and new elements.
Mm-hmm.
So like in Poppy and Sam's farm animal sounds, we've got the sounds, and they're not just like tinny. Like, they worked with, I was reading about, they worked with a full-on like sound specialist. There's like a voice actor who produces the sounds and makes sure that they like come out of the book properly, so it's not tinny and it's realistic. And like, it's so incredible to have that. It's incredible to have like the on-off switch. That was a big hit with the parents on the read along. So that like when the time is done and, you know, you're putting the book down, I don't know if you floor it down on the floor and someone stands on it at 3 a.m. when you're doing a toilet trip or whatever, or when you've just, you know, it's time for quiet time, you can turn it off and save the batteries. But yeah, they've really like introduced modern elements to add to the experience. So there's like the lift the flaps, the textures, there's the fact that they can, you know, there's easy turn pages, there's the wee cutouts, there's so much to interact with at any age. So whether they're just looking at the pictures or they're counting or they're talking about the sounds, it's all stuff that is familiar to most children, like these animals and these concepts of interacting with an animal and the noises they may make. But each book has, yeah, just so many different ways that you can interact with it. That's the perfect way to learn whilst not feeling like they're learning, which I think is key with kids. You don't, you know, the second like you're trying to teach them something, they're like,
yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
Not lesson time, reading time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Elle, what about you?
I think it's just because so it's been going for 40 years. So if you think about what like childhood looked like in the 40s versus what it looks like now, society is so different just in terms of even technology and the way that we parent. But I feel like these stories are just so abstract from like time periods. So like in the bedtime stories book, it's just wholesome stories about what this family is doing on the farm or what is happening in their local community. And I feel like it's like touchstone things that still interest and happen for children today. So it is about farm animals. Like what kid doesn't love a farm? Like the little farm trips in the 80s and even and now are very similar. Like we feed the baby animals and we talk about them and we listen to the sounds, and that's true whether our children were born in the 80s or if they were born now. And I think that's what stands the test of time. Like our children are always going to find it funny to camp in the garden and to have a naughty cow running around, and they're going to take a trip to the local shop, the local market, and that those moments are still going to feel the same to our children over the decades. Yeah, I think that's what I love, because obviously I love stories that are more about like modern technology and science and like real world impact for the world we now live in, but equally I like the stories that are just timeless childhood tales and speak about like the timeless joy of being a child. So yeah, that's maybe what.
I'd completely agree. I think they are a perfect example of like a timeless children's classic. But and who doesn't love? I mean, adults as well as kids. I love going to the farm. Like, but then anytime we go, Liam always asks me why we don't live on one, and I'm like, well, few reasons. Oh, well, thank you both so much for your time and getting together to have this chat. It's been lovely. For anyone watching, Poppy and Sam's Farm Animal Sounds is available to buy in the UK now, but there is an extensive backlist as we've just discussed. So if you haven't already read any of them with your little people, then yeah, we'd highly recommend them from Team Tandem. Thank you all for watching.
Bye.
Bye.